If you look at this innovative behavior, as I said, there's a lot of approaches, and there's three main ideas on what innovative behavior can be. It's innate, so you're born with it, yes or no. It's domain specific, so the idea is, so this is a personal characteristic. You can say, well, it's domain specific, so somebody who buys mobile phones doesn't have to buy new fruit, or if you're the first to do online banking, you don't have to buy a new mobile phone. So there's more domain specific than it's a trait you're born with. And of course there's actual behavior, and that's questions like how many products or how many new products did you buy the last couple of months, so the actual behavior part. And of course there's a lot of situational factors like product characteristics. Ivo talked about some of these product characteristics already. There's intercultural differences. If you look into, for example, the focus groups of 1.2 and also in 1.3, Ivo said something about, well, if it's not fresh, it's not fruit. That's a general idea, but it's more in Spain than, for example, in the Netherlands. So there's some differences in perception of fruit and in fresh, prepared, and processed fruit. And of course, the presence of other competitive products. What did we do? Well, based on this general knowledge, we thought, okay, there's an idea of general diffusion of innovations, but what's consumer innovative behavior in a food context? So we did this as a basic expertise for the rest of our work package, and we want to provide some kind of model, what kind of characteristics, personal and general characteristics, provide some insight into this new behavior part. We did a database research, some manual research into the scientific journals on marketing and consumer research, and of course cross-reference research, and this is actually the first results of it. Of course, what you see is some social demographics, age, gender, and education, but they give some, how do you call it, ambiguous results. So what we found very quickly was that if you only use these social demographics, which is done in a lot of studies, there's not a lot of explanation in it. You can use it, of course, for segmentation. So if you have some psychological values of these people, you can at the end use them these social demographics for segmentation criteria, but not to predict any behavior. Then, as I already said, there's some opinion leadership, which is a very strong predictor of innovative behavior. So if you're an opinion leader, then you're earlier in adopting than other people. I'm not going to bother you with all kinds of definitions, but I just wrote down one bullet which says, you people ask if you want to measure something like opinion leadership. So I often persuade people, people see me as having opinions on, for example, fruit products, and they recognize they listen to me when I talk about these kind of products. Then there's something which is called market maven. These people are quite different, a bit different. They have general ideas of the market. So they're not just in a specific product category, but they have more general ideas. So people listen to them because they have general knowledge. I used to work with some historic people in the past at marketing departments, and they knew a lot about how the world is going. So these market mavens have a broader view on consumption and on trends and on new products. There's these intercultural differences between countries. I don't know if some of you know the Hofstede cultural differences, power, distance, individualism. A couple of studies emphasize on that's really important. We're just going to use that as a background because we're going to do studies in Spain and Greece and to compare these different countries with each other and see if there's an impact on innovative behavior in a food context. This domain-specific interest is, instead of a very general personality trait you're born with, as I said already, a product-specific thing. So do you buy earlier than others for a specific product or not? Are you the last in your circle to do that? This is a very interesting one. which is social representation dimension of novel foods. This means something like, how do you see the world in general, and how do you compare it to food? The first one is, I prefer familiar and safe foods, is a dimension that states that you don't like new technologies. You would like to stay with the past. So a very strong sense of feeling in the past is good. So what used to be is good, and all these new silly trends, I don't like it. Then eating is very important to me. Is a dimension on do you enjoy it? Do you like talking about it? So eating as enjoyment, which is a very different approach than I use it because I used to use it like 10 years ago, these old products. I would like to eat only food with no additives is a more natural dimension. So I like natural foods, organic foods, a very specific kind of preference. Then you have these new foods are just a silly trend, which is again a resistance against technologies and novel foods. And this last one is very interesting. There are a lot of people seeming that, and we've done some studies among young consumer adolescents, and we've seen that they, of course, taste, like everyone else says, taste is very important, and price. And the third one, which struck me, which wasn't in adult studies, was hunger. So this last one is, well, I just eat because I'm hungry. So food as a necessity. This is specific for food, but it has an idea of how people look at the world and how they see it. Then there's two which are specific for food or fruit. There's something called food neophobia. I don't trust new foods, or I'm afraid to eat it. So if I've never had it, I will not eat it. And there's the opposite, which is very close to the idea of the eating as enjoyment. I like to talk about it. So if I have cooked dinner for myself or for myself and others, I'm very proud to talk about. I like to talk about food. So this food involvement is a specific kind of product involvement. You can also ask it for mobile phones, but in this context we use it for the fruit part. And then there's of course some more non-psychological traits of people, like marketing communication, which a couple of studies showed some influence of trust, importance of sources or communication channels. The idea of people should be aware, and there's a trial phase and repeat phase. So there's some general evidence on marketing communication, but also in other contexts. So for fruit, I always think about, when I think about fruit, do people know any fruit brands? If you talk about apples, I have no idea, to be honest. I mean, of course, we experts do have all these kind of different product ideas, but if you look at, I'm standing in a supermarket and I see all these baskets of apples, I have no idea how they are called for a brand. So it's a very interesting topic to explore in a fruit context, because if you have Nike, you have a brand and you can sell experience. And for fruit it should be, or it could be the same way, but these brands are less well known. Then of course there's product characteristics Ivo was talking about already. We're going to focus on taste and value for money, convenience, healthy, what we've learned from the earlier. So from Word Package 1.1 and 1.2, we're going to incorporate that. And of course, this actual consumer innovation adoption. So I intend to buy, I did buy some products the last couple of months. So that's the main variable you want to explain. So are they intend to buy, and what did they buy, and why did they buy it?